So we have seen Mendelian inheritance. Now let us move a bit away from it. So in this, we know that in the F1 generation, we get any one trait. Suppose if you are taking, you take anything, and let me take one example here. Snap, or you can say Antirrhinum, Antirrhinum species if you take here, which is also called, which is giving us dark flower, which is also called dark flower in this case. So the another common name for this one is snapdragon. So color of this flower if you take, we have red color and also white color. So let me say they are homozygous in condition. Homozygous parents are taken in this case here. What is this we have taken here? Parental phenotype we have taken. Then can you tell me the genotype of this if it is homozygous in condition? You can use any alphabet here.
Capital R.
Okay, let me use. I told you can use any alphabet. It is not that you should use the first letter of the particular trait here. Okay, it is not that. You can use anything, but the same alphabet should be used even for the recessive allele. So this is the homozygous dominant in this case here. So that's why we are writing it as capital R, capital R. Any doubt in this? If you have any doubt regarding any step, you please point out immediately so that we can resolve that issue and then go further. Then what about this white flower?
Small.
We are taking flower color into consideration in the plant called Antirrhinum, which is also called snapdragon, also dark flower. So we can see that is going to be quite naturally, as you rightly told, it is going to be smaller. This is the phenotype. Phenotype and genotype. This is the genotype. You see, step by step you have to write like this only. Then what is the next step which you have to write? What is the next step?
Crossing.
Gamete.
Very good. So you have to write the gametes. Gametes. So how many types of gametes are going to be formed when they are in the homozygous condition?
Single.
Only one type. Very good. So which is that here?
Capital R.
Capital R. Good. What about this? In the case of
Smaller.
Smaller. Okay. Then when we cross this one, so they conducted an experiment involving this particular flower plant where they have red flower and also white flower. And what is that which we expect here as per the Mendelian inheritance?
Red flower.
So we expect it to be red in color. But for the surprise of the scientists who conducted this experiment, they got the flower which is pink in color.
Violet.
Pink in color. So they got the one with pink in color, a new trait which they got here. So new color they got in this case here. What should be the genotype of this?
Capital R, small r.
So it should be capital R, one gamete from the male and also another from the female here. So capital R, small r. I can write male and also female in this. Then this is what they got in F1. Then the selfing was done. F1 crossed with F1. That is, what is that? What is the genotype of that? So that is pink was crossed with pink plant in this case. F1 into F1. The plant with pink flower was crossed with the plant with pink flower. What is the genotype of this pink flower?
Capital R, small R.
Very good. It is capital R, small r. What about this?
Capital R, small r.
Capital R, small r. Good. Then what about the gamete?
Two gametes, sir.
So how many types of gametes you can expect here?
Two types of
Two types. Which are they?
capital R,
Good,
small r.
capital R. Then
Cap.
two types. Two different type of volutes are present here. Quite naturally, you'll get two different types of gametes here. So that is another one is small r here. What about this here? Capital R, small r. So they got like this. Then once they got like this, then let us go for F2 here. F2. You can use checkerboard. You can use checkerboard. Okay. So male and also female. Male and female. So what are the gametes which are present here? What are the type of gametes here? So in the case of male, we are having capital R,
Small r.
small r. What about female? Again it is capital
Capital
R,
R, small
r. Okay, what is the, so here you see now, so the gamete with the dominant allele crossed with the female gamete with the dominant allele here. So then what should be the genotype here? Capital R here. And here the first gamete, that is capital R, that is the dominant allele with the recessive allele of the female gamete here. So that is capital R.
Capital R, small r.
And the recessive allele of the male gamete with the dominant allele of the female gamete. Again,
Capital R, small r.
capital R,
Capital R, small r.
both the gametes with both the recessive alleles were crossed here.
Small r, small r, small r.
Then what is the expected phenotype here? What is the expected phenotype? Phenotype are there, Becca.
Red and white. Red flower.
They got the phenotype
Red.
that is red. And what we expected here, according to Mendelian inheritance, we should have got red or white. But they got three different colored flowers here. So some are red in color and some are pink in color, like the F1 hybrids we have got, and also some are white in color. You have seen this? Hey, who is that? Hey, those who are not, hello. Those who are not speaking, you turn off your microphone. So in this, you can find here, in this F2, for F2, we don't have the parents with the red and also white, it is only the pink. But we have got in the F2 one, so what are the phenotypes we have got? Which are the phenotypes? Red,
Red,
pink, and also
white.
white. Yeah, those people who are not speaking, you please switch off your microphone. When you want to speak, that time only you switch on and then speak. So that is going to be, how many red are there?
One.
Pink, two,
Two.
and again white color
One.
flowers,
One.
in this case. This is the phenotypic ratio. Phenotype. And genotype, if you take genotype, it is going to be, what is the genotype?
3:2.
Capital
1:2:1.
is to capital R, small r is to small r, small r. So what is the ratio?
1:2:1.
Flower plants are there? 1. How many pink flowered plants are there?
2,
Then what about white flower plant?
1,
1.
1.
So here in this case, both genotype and also phenotype remain same. Whereas in the case of Mendelian inheritance, where we have studied the monohybrid cross, so it was a bit different. What are the monohybrid genotypic ratio in the case of Mendelian inheritance?
3:1.
1:2:1. Phenotypic ratio is 3:1. Genotypic ratio I asked you, no?
1:2.
1:1. See, genotype remains same here. But phenotypic ratio in the case of Mendelian inheritance was 3:1, but in this case it is 1:2:1. So here we have got a character which is somewhat in between. So the pink color is the in between character of this red and also the white. In between trait of red and white. And such an inheritance where the dominant allele is not going to be completely expressed over the recessive allele. That we call it as incomplete dominance. What is this called? What is this called? Incomplete dominance. What is this called? Incomplete dominance. What is this concept called? ಏನಂತ ಇದನ್ನ?
Incomplete dominance.
So this incomplete dominance is the one where the dominant allele is not going to be completely dominant over the recessive allele. So because of which what happens here? Because of which the dominant allele is not going to be expressed completely in the where? Heterozygous condition. In the heterozygous condition, it is not going to be completely expressed here. So that we call it as incomplete dominance, and you can see the picture of the plants, the plants which we have given example here. This is the one about test grass which I have already discussed. I'll come back to that if you want later on. You can see this one. So this is called snapdragon, the dog flower plant. What is this color?
Red.
Red. This is white. When red and white were crossed here, you can see the pink flower, pink colored flower here. The plant with pink color. You see the flower, plant and also the flower. You see the type of leaves which are present here. These are the leaves which are present. Okay. This is the example, snapdragon. A very important example from the point of examination also. This is in the F1. And you can find here, this is in the case of Mirabilis jalapa, which is also called 4 o'clock plant. This also you write. This is another example. We can have Mirabilis jalapa, which is also called, what is another name? 4 o'clock plant. So where you can see red color. This one is, what is the color?
White.
White, then
Pink.
Dark pink.
you have got pink flower. You have got pink flower in this case. Okay? You have got pink flower in that case. So that you can write here. So red crossed with white gave us pink color. So these are the two examples, and you can see this particular one is also called partial dominance, which is also called semi-dominance. Partial dominance or semi-dominance. Why is it called so? Why is it called so?
Of dominance representing, sir.
So dominant allele is not going to be dominant over the recessive allele completely. So that's why it is said to be the inheritance in which allele for a specific character or trait is not completely dominant over other allele. What do you mean by other allele? What do you mean by other allele?
Other trait.
The recessive allele, recessive trait you can say. So the other allele is called incomplete dominance. You can write this statement, that is very important. The inheritance in which allele for a specific character or the dominant allele for a specific trait or character is not completely dominant over another allele, that is the recessive allele, is called incomplete dominance. That is called incomplete dominance. So any question on this? You can find here. This is the one which I have already written on the board. Parent we have taken, the genotype of the parent, gametes, capital R and capital W. They have given like that, of course, but you should write capital R, small r, you can write. F1 generation. Okay, this is the phenotypic ratio and also genotypic ratio remain same. That is 1:2:1. So this is what we have got in the case of what is this? In the case of you can incomplete dominance. So, were you able to take this incomplete dominance? Any question is there on this? Any question on this? This is said to be a deviation from Mendelian inheritance. What is this called? What is this called?
Deviation from Mendelian inheritance.
Deviation from Mendelian inheritance. Why do we call it as deviation from Mendelian inheritance?
It is not obeying Mendelian's laws.
So now we are studying about deviations from a Mendelian inheritance. So the example, one of the example is that of the incomplete dominance. Incomplete dominance is the example for this deviation from Mendelian inheritance. Any question on incomplete dominance?
No, sir.
Shall I move forward? Shall I move forward? If you have any
Yes, sir.
question, we can have discussion otherwise. So here, then what is the concept of this dominance then? What is the concept of dominance then? What do you mean by this? So let us see the concept of dominance wherein. So concept of dominance.
Sir, camera.
Can you see this one?
Camera.
No, sir.
Now I think you can see. Yes?
Yes, sir.
So in this, we have in any character, this character, how many alleles are controlling? What is that which is controlling the character?
Dominant allele.
A character is controlled by a gene. Controlled by gene. And this gene is having each gene is having the two forms of the same gene with little difference, which is mainly due to some mutations, the changes, which we will be studying in the next classes here. So here different forms of genes are called, what are these called? We call them as alleles. So for each gene is having two alleles for a gene. So that means alleles are nothing but the two different forms of genes. Two different forms of genes here. And in this we have seen the dominant allele, and also another one is said to be the recessive allele. Recessive allele. The dominant allele and also recessive allele. What do you mean by dominant allele here? What for the particular gene or allele responsible here? What is the work by this gene?
Expressing character.
Oh, how are they expressing the character? That's good, very good. They are responsible for a character or a trait. Then how are they doing it?
Allelic.
So they are going to do it. Suppose if you want to have a skin color, what is responsible for skin color?
Melanin.
Melanin pigment. What is it actually? It is a protein. That protein synthesis is controlled by a gene. Like that, you take any molecule which is produced, whether proteins and also mainly the enzymes, you can say. You know, enzymes are responsible for carrying out metabolic processes that you have already studied in your 11th class. So, these dominant alleles are the genes, or you can say any alleles, you can say, they are going to synthesize the proteins. Or you can also say the enzymes. Enzymes or proteins are going to be synthesized by genes. So they are the ones which are responsible for synthesis of proteins or enzymes which control metabolism. So this particular protein or a gene controls the trait. Got it here? Any doubt up till now? Any doubt up to now? Any doubt up to now? So how the genes are responsible for controlling the trait? Any doubt is there? Then this dominant allele is responsible for coding for synthesis of. It is responsible for synthesis of enough quantity of protein, enough or you can say excess amount of protein. Excess amount of protein. This particular dominant allele will be responsible for synthesis of enough quantity of protein. Such an allele which is able to provide or produce enough quantity of protein is said to be dominant allele. So this recessive allele is nothing but the modified allele. What is the reason for modification? What is the reason for modification? Kanayana, modification here. So that is due to mutations, the changes. This recessive allele.
Sir, what are mutations?
Yeah, mutation. That's because of the mutation. That's good. That is recessive allele is the one. So this is coding for maybe normal or less efficient enzyme. So this codes for or synthesis of normal or less efficient enzyme. There are 2-3 ways by which it is going to control it. So it will be producing sometimes normal amount of enzyme or maybe sometimes less efficient enzyme here. Then sometimes they won't be producing any enzyme at all. That is no enzyme at all. Sometimes no enzyme at all. They won't produce. The allele is present because of the defect, because of the change. They may not be producing any enzyme at all. No enzyme at all. and sometimes they will be producing but they are not working. What do you call them? Non-functional enzyme. Non-functional enzyme. So now we have seen what is this dominant allele doing and what about the recessive allele. Dominant allele is able to produce enough quantity of enzyme which is functional, wherein the recessive allele is the one which is not producing enough quantity or which is producing non-functional enzyme or which is producing less efficient enzyme or it is not producing any enzyme at all. At this condition, suppose if in heterozygous condition, if only one dominant allele is there, in heterozygous condition, one dominant allele is there, it is able to produce enough quantity of the protein due to which that particular trait is going to be, dominant trait is going to be expressed. That dominant trait is going to be expressed. When recessive allele is in homozygous condition, since there is no dominant allele which is responsible for the synthesis of the protein or the enzyme, so the metabolic process is going to be affected, due to which that particular trait is being affected here. So that's why the recessive allele cannot be expressed in that case. In the sense, that particular enzyme will not be able to function, due to which the recessive trait is going to be expressed when the recessive allele is in homozygous condition. So like this, we can see the dominance is in terms of producing the proteins or the enzymes which are responsible for metabolic activities. So that may be responsible for many metabolic activities like maybe photosynthesis, maybe respiration. Like that, many processes are happening in the body in the case of different plants, animals and all. So they are going to control, those metabolic processes are going to be because of the enzymes. So like this, the dominance, this is the concept of dominance. Dominant is the one which is able to produce enough quantity of proteins or enzymes. So like this, we are having this the dominance, the concept of dominance. Any question here?